Welcome to Drawing 1. In this class you're learning technique on how to focus on just spatial comparison and where things belong on a piece of paper. I'm also teaching you to wipe any thought that you have in your mind of what it is you're looking at and just draw the spaces and the shapes that are in front of you until everything's drawn out, and then you can stop and realize that you're actually drawing an illusion of that thing that you're trying to draw. So here you're not drawing Batman, you're just drawing a bunch of lines and shapes in the proper space that if put in the proper area, they represent that image of Batman. Let me kind of tell you what I mean. So right here, yes, you can call that Batman's ear, but if I were to just block out any representation of Batman and just focused on that Batman ear, now I have the letter V, which is much easier to handle. Okay, so there's my example of letter V. Let me hike down a little bit here, move this around. So right now what we're looking at is square B1. The reason why I'm holding this upside down is because it further helps my brain from worrying about what I'm drawing. So instead of just thinking Batman, 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 instead of that I'm just looking at this letter V without any other thoughts in my head. So I'm looking at B1. Here's B1. So my first question is, where does this start? I'm going to identify that point by dividing this space from here to here in half. And I'm going to make a little marker right there as well on this piece of paper. So I've identified where the halfway point is this way. And I can do the same thing going the other way. So this is my start, this is my end, my middle is right around here. I can do that on this sheet of paper. This is the start, this is the end. Where's the middle? Right around here. I'm going to do that on the other end and up above as well. Feel free to do that right away. So I'm making little cross sections as reference points. You'll see how these come in handy later. Okay, so I can identify where my V starts. It starts here, right at the corner, and it ends right before the middle, right around here. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is identify where it goes, and I think it's way up here. I'm going to make a little mark there, but I want to confirm it. Because it's hard to identify where that's at, I'm going to make a couple crosshairs like that, and then I'm going to figure, yep, I was pretty close. Make a mark right there. Now I can connect. Draw this as softly as possible to begin with, so later when all of your squares are done you can look back and say, okay, was I right? And you can make some simple corrections. If you draw too dark, things might not be erasable. So I think that's pretty equal to the original. I'm going to move on to the next square. So now the next square would be right here. Remember, we're trying to convince our minds that we're not drawing Batman, we're just drawing a bunch of random shapes. So here we are. This one starts right below. Noticing that there's a little cross section here, and it starts right around here and ends right around there. I think I'm pretty accurate here. Notice how I'm not using my cross sections. This one hangs low. What I want to check, and I want you to pause now and make sure you get this method of checking your work right now. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking at this triangle here. I'm going to color it so you can see it. Maybe I should color it in a brighter color. One second. I'm going to color it in a pretty dose of pink there. Okay, and I'm going to compare it to this little hint of pink. Is it the same? Yes. Right? The answer should be yes. Then I'm going to compare this shape here and then color it in here. Is that the same? The answer should be yes. Now I'm going to color this space in here and then color the space in here. If those are the same, then I can move on. If they're not the same, make adjustments and then move on. Alright, you don't actually have to color, but I want you to see what I'm comparing. I'm not even looking at the lines that will be Batman at the end. I'm actually looking at the spacing. So I'm looking at this and that to compare those negative shapes. They call those negative shapes. Alright, moving on. I'm going to do one more or two more boxes, and I'm going to let you try it on your own. If you have any questions, you could always email me. I'm going to write down my email right here. You can put this on in your journal so you have it for future reference. But it's Martinez at psd1.org. I do not forget that. Alright, moving on to this square. There's the top, there's the bottom. You could also use Post-its to cover up your drawing up here. You don't have to keep it around if it's distracting, if it's interfering with your thought process. You could ask anyone that's taken my class before if they like the grid process. They love the grid process. Reason being is that it gets you 100% accuracy. I'm going to show you the cross-section technique one more time. I'm trying to find it. There you go. Okay, so I'm trying to draw whatever's in this square and put it in this square. Right? Zoom in a little bit if I can. I'm going to put them side by side so you can, maybe not. Of the other so you can see it a little better. I want to keep my mind from thinking that this is Batman, so I'm covering him up. Here we are. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how much is in this square. So that entire corner. Maybe even further out, like that. And then I'm going to connect to the rest of this because we know this line is continuous. And it's something like that. I can compare this shape here, a white shape, to that little white shape, this big space to this big space. And I feel like they're very similar, so I can move on. Last but not least, this ear. So what you're going to be doing is make sure that you use your Post-its to create the edges of your square. Don't put them on here randomly like this or like that. You want to cover up the edges so only the box is exposed. So the full box is exposed, not part of it. Alright, again I need my midpoints. This is important that you have your midpoints declared. So this for my midpoint tells me that his ear begins here and then curves that way. I'm going to try to avoid the for this one I'm going to try to not draw my crosshairs. Something like that. Alright. You just do that over and over and over again until all of Batman is drawn. Give yourself 1 day. That's 1 hour and a half to complete this. You don't need 5 days. 5 days times an hour and a half is 7.5 hours. You don't need 7.5 hours to complete this, okay? You definitely need time. You should take your time, but you should not take all day. If you have any questions, again, email me at Saul Martinez, smartinez@psd1.org, or you could ask your teacher for help. Thank you.